1. Let me tell you about this absolute gem I found on Craigslist. A 1958 GMC 1500 step-side pickup that's seriously turning heads. At $2,400, we're looking at a piece of automotive history that's been maintained with real care and passion. This beauty is rocking a 336 Pontiac V8 under the hood, paired with a turbo 4-speed automatic transmission, a powertrain combo that was pretty impressive for its time. The white exterior with red trim is clean and striking, and I've got to say, the seller's right. Pictures probably don't do it justice. It's one of those trucks that just looks better in person. What makes this particular GMC special is that it's the deluxe model with the big back window, a desirable feature that collectors really appreciate. The interior matches the exterior with its white finish, keeping that period-correct look that we all love. The seller's being upfront about everything. All lights are working, and the truck starts, runs, and drives well. With just 594 miles on it, after odometer rollover, it's clearly been used respectfully. You're getting a clean Texas title, and the seller mentions there are no hidden surprises or damage, which is refreshing to hear in the classic truck market. Look, I've seen my share of classics, and when a seller is this straightforward about a vehicle's condition and backs it up with details about functionality, it's usually a good sign. For anyone looking for a classic GMC pickup that's ready to drive and show, this could be your ticket. Just remember, it's cash only. No trades or payments accepted. 2. Let me tell you about this interesting find, a 1978 Dodge Ram Charger that's popped up for just $3,000. Now, let's be real here. This is definitely a project car, and I need to be straight with you about that. This old-school Mopar is packing the reliable 318 V8, which is actually one of the bright spots here. The seller's being pretty honest. It was running when parked about 18 months ago, and they even fired it up recently to prove it's still got life in it. But here's the deal. You'll need to bring your own battery because, well, someone helped themselves to the original one. You know how that goes. With 250,000 miles on the clock, this Ram Charger has definitely seen its share of adventures. The seller's refreshingly upfront about its condition. It's not wrecked or fundamentally broken, but it definitely needs some TLC. We're talking about a true project truck here, folks. For $3,000 with a clean title, this could be an interesting project for someone who's not afraid to get their hands dirty. These Ram Chargers have a pretty solid following, and the 318 is known for being a reliable workhorse when properly maintained. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This isn't a jump in and drive home situation. You're looking at some work here, but for the right person who loves these old Dodge trucks and has some mechanical know-how, this could be a rewarding project. Just make sure to bring that battery if you're going to check it out. 3. Let's talk about this 1960 Ford F100 custom cab that just popped up for $10,000. I've got to be straight with you. While we don't have a ton of details in the listing, there are some interesting points to consider here. The big highlight is that this truck's got a freshly rebuilt engine with only about 1,000 miles on it. That's definitely a major plus. The seller's calling it a good runner, and it's sporting the custom cab trim level, which adds some nice touches over the base model from that era. The clean title is always good news too. Now, I wish we had more specifics about the actual condition, what engine it's running, or some details about the body and interior condition. At $10,000, you'll definitely want to ask some questions and get a good look at everything. The seller seems open to negotiation and even trades, which is pretty flexible. These F100s from 1960 are really starting to gain popularity in the classic truck world. They've got that perfect vintage look with those wide, flat fenders and that classic Ford truck grille that just screams Americana. For anyone interested, I'd recommend asking about rust. These old trucks are known for it, the transmission condition, and what exact engine we're dealing with here. At this price point, it could be a decent entry into classic truck ownership, especially with that rebuilt engine. 4. Let's check out this beast of a find, a 1977 Dodge W150 Power Wagon that's up for grabs at $9,000 OBO. And folks, this isn't your average old Dodge truck. We're talking about one with a 440 big block under the hood. The custom W150 Power Wagon is already a cool piece of Mopar history, but what makes this one special is that massive 440 engine. That's some serious muscle for a 77 truck. With 80,000 miles showing on the odometer and a clean title, this red bruiser seems to have plenty of life left in it. These W150s were built tough with their 4x4 capability, and the 440 engine swap takes it to another level. We're talking about one of Chrysler's most legendary engines here. The automatic transmission should make this powerhouse pretty manageable for daily driving, assuming everything's in good working order. At $9,000 with room to negotiate, you're looking at a pretty interesting price point for a classic 4x4 with a big block. These power wagons have a strong following, and finding one with a 440 isn't something you see every day. I definitely want to hear that 440 run and check the usual spots for rust. But for someone looking for a unique piece of Mopar truck history with some serious power potential, this could be worth checking out. What do you think about this muscular power wagon? Would you take on this big block beast? 5. I've got something really special to share with you today. A 1965 Ford F-250 that's been transformed into an absolutely incredible patina rat rod, listed at $18,850. And let me tell you, this isn't your average classic truck. First off, this is a California black plate truck from San Jose, which is already a big deal for collectors. But what really makes this F-250 special is the incredible amount of professional work that's gone into it while maintaining that perfect patina look. The seller has provided an extensive list of upgrades that's honestly impressive. Let's talk about that power plant. It started life as an FE352, but has been bored and stroked to 390 cubic inches. We're talking serious power here, folks. The seller describes it as a beast that shakes the ground like a funny car, and with the high-performance crank and other mods, I believe it. It's backed by a 3-speed manual with a heavy-duty Dana 60 rear end running 410 gears. This truck means business. The amount of new parts is staggering. Everything from a custom high-flow aluminum radiator to new Falken Wild Peak AT tires, completely rebuilt brakes, and a custom exhaust system. They've even added modern conveniences like LED lighting and a hidden kill switch for security. The interior features a custom rebuilt and reupholstered vintage-style bench seat. What's really impressive is that with less than 100 miles since the refurbishment, everything is fresh and ready to go. The sellers being straight up when they say you won't need to fix anything. This is a turnkey classic that's been built to drive. 6. Let's talk about this 1966 Chevy shortbed Fleetside that's popped up for $10,990. I've got to be straight with you about this one. It's got some interesting points, but also some things to consider. The good news first, this is a California black plate truck, which typically means less rust than trucks from other regions. It's powered by the reliable inline-6 engine, paired with a 3-on-the-tree manual transmission, a classic combination that's known for its simplicity and durability. With 134,000 miles, it's got some life experience, but that's not terrible for a truck of this age. The seller's being refreshingly honest here. They've just put in a new battery and fuel pump, and while it runs and drives well, they're upfront about recommending a thorough going through before any long trips. I appreciate that kind of honesty in a listing. Now they specifically mention it's not perfect, and it's a solid California truck, which usually means it's a driver-quality vehicle rather than a showpiece. At this price point, you're getting a classic Chevy with some character that needs some attention but isn't a basket case. For $10,990, you're looking at an honest, straightforward classic truck. These 66 Chevys have a great following, and the inline-6 is one of the most reliable engines ever made. Just be prepared to do some work to get it exactly where you want it. 7. Let's talk about this 1972 Chevy Cheyenne that's up for grabs at $3,000. And I've got to be completely honest with you. This is definitely a project truck that needs some serious work. Let's start with the elephant in the room. The 350 engine isn't running, and you'll need a trailer to get this home. That's a pretty big deal right there. The truck also needs rocker panels, which is usually a sign of rust issues that'll need addressing. But hey, it's not all bad news. This Cheyenne does have some desirable features. It's got the 400 automatic transmission, power steering, power brakes, and front disc brakes. The sliding rear glass and rear cab light are nice touches, and that heavy-duty rear end with a tow package could be valuable if they're in good shape. At $3,000, you're basically buying a project with potential. These 72 Cheyennes are desirable trucks when restored, but you're looking at some significant investment in both time and money to get this one back on the road. The 350 engine is relatively easy to work on or replace if needed, but those rocker panels will require some serious bodywork. For someone with welding skills and mechanical know-how who's looking for a classic Chevy project, this could be an interesting starting point. Just go into it with your eyes wide open. This isn't a quick flip or an easy fix. 8. Let me tell you about this absolutely stunning 1969 Ford Ranchero 500 that's up for $25,000. This isn't your average classic car truck. We're looking at something really special here. First off, this is a documented two-owner vehicle with full service records and manuals. That's like finding gold in the classic car world. It's powered by the original H-Code 351 V8, paired with a C4 automatic transmission and a 9-inch rear end, one of Ford's most reliable powertrains from this era. The lime green paint, while not a fresh job, it was redone 22 years ago, still presents well and is true to the original color. Inside, you're getting the original black interior, and it's got some nice factory options including power disc brakes and the AM/FM stereo. Being a Kansas City-built 500 model makes it even more interesting for Ford enthusiasts. What really stands out here is the level of preservation and documentation. The original brightwork is still in place, and it even comes with extra trim moldings. The upgraded dual exhaust system probably gives this beauty a nice rumble too. At $25,000, you're looking at a well-preserved piece of Ford history. These Rancheros are becoming increasingly collectible, and finding one with this level of documentation, original components, and in this condition isn't easy. 9. Let me tell you about this awesome 1985 Chevy CUCV M109 Blazer that's up for $12,000. And folks, this isn't your average K5 Blazer. We're talking about the military version with some serious upgrades. The heart of this beast is the 6.2L diesel engine, which is known for its reliability and torque. With just 57,000 miles on the clock and freshly rebuilt fuel injectors, this military-spec power plant should have plenty of life left. The transmission's been rebuilt too, along with the rear end. That's some serious mechanical investment right there. This Blazer's got some serious off-road upgrades. We're looking at a 6-inch lift rolling on 35-inch tires, plus a hefty 12,000-pound winch that'll get you, or someone else, out of just about any situation. The custom cargo rack and overhead speaker console add some nice practical touches to this military-turned-civilian rig. For those who might not know, the M1009 CUCV, Commercial Utility Cargo Vehicle, was the military version of the K5 Blazer, built tougher than its civilian counterpart from the factory. These things were designed to take abuse and keep going, and with those recent mechanical rebuilds, this one's ready for action. At $12,000, considering the recent mechanical work and upgrades, plus the uniqueness of being a military-spec vehicle, this could be a pretty interesting deal for someone looking for a capable off-roader with some real history behind it. 10. Let's check out this sweet 1978 Chevy El Camino that's up for grabs at $15,000. This isn't your average El Camino. It's got some really nice updates while keeping that classic charm. Let's talk about what makes this one special. First off, it's rocking a 350 V8 with the factory 4-barrel carb, which is a great combination for reliable power. With 74,000 miles on the clock, this engine should have plenty of life left in it. The rebuilt suspension means it should handle like it's supposed to, without those typical old car squeaks and rattles. The exterior is finished in Porsche gray with a black interior, both done in 2020, so the cosmetics are fresh. They've added a bed liner too, which is always a practical touch for these car-truck hybrids. Inside, you're getting bucket seats, AC, and power steering. All the comfort features you want in a classic cruiser. What's particularly appealing about this El Camino is that it seems to strike a nice balance between being updated where it counts while maintaining its original character. The color combination is tasteful, and the presence of factory features like the 4-barrel carb shows it hasn't been heavily modified. At $15,000, you're looking at a well-sorted El Camino that's ready to cruise and show. These vehicles are gaining popularity as classics, especially ones that have been maintained and updated thoughtfully like this one appears to be. 11. Let me tell you about this 1965 Chevy C10 stepside that's up for just $5,000. And honestly, at this price, I'm doing a double take because this seems like an incredible deal for what's being offered. The seller's story adds some real heart to this listing. It was their first car, built before heading into service, and you can tell this was a labor of love. We're looking at a frame-off restoration with some serious upgrades, and it's barely been driven since completion. Let's talk about what's been done. There's a fresh-built 350 small block paired with a semi-built TH350 transmission with a shift kit, running through a custom one-piece driveline. The frame has been completely treated and painted, and they've upgraded to front disc brakes. The suspension's been lowered with shortened coils ditching the leaf springs, and they've added nitro shocks for better street performance. The attention to detail is impressive. New AMD ignition system, aluminum radiator, a 15-gallon fuel cell under the bed, and they've even installed Dynamat for sound deadening. The interior's all new, including a fresh carpet kit, and they've added beautiful antique dairy wood planks in the bed with new wood rails. At $5,000, considering the frame-off restoration and all these upgrades, this seems like an absolute steal. These C10s are highly desirable, especially short bed stepsides, and this one's had everything done right. 12. Let's talk about this 1976 Ford F-250 that's popped up for $6,000. This is one of those straightforward, honest listings for a classic workhorse truck. What we're looking at here is an all-original F-250 with 86,000 original miles, which is pretty impressive for a truck of this age. It's rocking the V8 engine, though the seller doesn't specify which one, paired with an automatic transmission, and they say it runs great, always good to hear with these old Fords. The brown paint appears to be original, keeping with that classic 70s aesthetic. Being an F-250, this is the heavy-duty version of Ford's pickup line from that era, built to handle some serious work. These trucks were known for their durability and straightforward mechanics, which makes them relatively easy to maintain. At $6,000, you're looking at a pretty straightforward deal for an original running classic truck. While the listing is pretty brief on details, the low original mileage is definitely a selling point. These 70s Fords have a strong following, and finding one that's all original with under 100K miles isn't something you see every day. I definitely want to check the usual spots for rust and get more details about maintenance history, but for someone looking for a classic Ford truck that's ready to roll, this could be worth checking out. What do you think about this brown beauty? Would you daily drive this classic F-250? 13. Let's check out this 1969 Ford F-100 Ranger that's up for $16,000. Now, I've got to be straight with you about this one. It's a bit of a mixed bag. The good news is it's packing a 351 V8 engine, which is a solid power plant from Ford's golden era, and the seller says it's a daily driver that's working perfect. That's always encouraging to hear with a classic truck. Being a Ranger trim level, it would have come with some nice additional features over the base F-100. However, let's address the elephant in the room. The seller admits it needs paint, and at $16,000, that's something to seriously consider. A proper paint job isn't cheap these days, so you'll want to factor that into the overall cost. The odometer shows 10,000 miles, but on a 69 that's likely rolled over at least once. What's interesting is that this is being sold for a friend and comes with a clean title. While it's great that it's being used as a daily driver, showing its mechanical reliability, the asking price seems a bit steep for a truck that needs paint work. These 69 F-100s are desirable classics, especially with the 351 engine, but I definitely want to thoroughly inspect the body condition beneath that tired paint and get more details about its mechanical history before considering that $16K price tag. 14. Let me tell you about this absolutely incredible 1976 Ford F-250 Highboy that's up for $27,500. And folks, this isn't your average old Ford truck. This is the real deal. First off, let's address what makes this special. It's a true highboy, not a lifted regular F-250, and it's a California truck, which typically means better preservation. What makes it even more impressive is that it's wearing its original paint. That's incredibly rare for a truck of this age. Plus, it comes with a MARTI report, which is like having the truck's birth certificate and validates its authenticity. Under the hood, you've got the robust 360 V8 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, a powertrain combination that's highly sought after by collectors. With 143,284 miles, it's been used but not abused, and all the running gear is original, which is remarkable for these trucks. The owner has invested in the right places: new carpet kit, headliner, seat cover, tires, spark plugs and wires, and a fresh oil change. These updates maintain the truck's usability while preserving its originality where it counts. At $27,500, while it might seem steep to some, this is actually pretty fair for a genuine highboy in this condition with original paint and documented history. These trucks have a strong following, and finding one this original is getting harder every year. 15. Let me tell you about this absolutely stunning 1972 Chevy C10 that's up for $27,500, and folks, this one's something special. This isn't just your average classic truck. We're looking at a fresh, full restoration that's been done right. The truck was stripped to bare metal and repainted just last month, so that finish is as fresh as it gets. But the real heart of this build is the brand new 350 cubic inch Chevy crate motor with less than 1,000 miles on it. That means you're getting modern reliability with classic style. What's particularly impressive is that this restoration seems to be comprehensive. They're saying it's been done top to bottom and drives like it just rolled off the 72 assembly line. All systems are fully functional, which is exactly what you want to hear about a restored classic. The only modern touch they've added is a push-button start system, which is actually a pretty cool and practical upgrade that doesn't take away from the truck's classic character. With just 3,136 miles showing, presumably since the restoration, this C10 is basically a new truck in a classic wrapper. At $27,500, while it's not cheap, you're getting a freshly restored classic that's ready to drive without the waiting time and additional costs of doing the restoration yourself. These early 70s C10s are highly desirable, and finding one this fresh is pretty rare. 16. Let's check out this 1976 Chevy K10 that's up for $8,200. And I've got to be straight with you about what we're looking at here. This is a pretty solid-looking classic 4x4 with the original 350 V8 and 4-speed manual combo. Always a great powertrain setup in these trucks. The seller's being honest about the truck's condition. It runs good, the 4x4 system works great with that 203 transfer case, and they've put some work into it. The only non-original parts appear to be the rims and tires. Now, there are a few things to consider here. The seller mentions a little surface rust. Pretty common for these old trucks, but you'll want to check how little it really is. Also, it needs to be smogged and registered, and while they say everything's there for smog, that could be an adventure with a 76 model. The title situation needs attention too. They have the paperwork for registration, but the title is currently lost. At $8,200, you're looking at a mostly original K10 that seems mechanically sound. These trucks are getting harder to find in original condition, especially with working 4x4 systems. The manual transmission adds to its appeal for enthusiasts. 17. Let me tell you about this 1978 Plymouth Trail Duster that's listed for $23,000. Now, I've got to be honest. The listing is pretty sparse on details, which is a bit unusual for a vehicle at this price point. The Trail Duster was Plymouth's answer to the Chevy Blazer and Ford Bronco, and they're actually pretty rare finds these days. This one's a custom model, finished in gray, with a black interior. While we don't have engine specs in the listing, these typically came with either a 318 or 360 V8. What's interesting is that this appears to be a dealer listing, note the stock number P1596, and they're advertising it as part of a huge sale. However, without more information about the mechanical condition, modifications, or mileage, it's hard to fully evaluate if $23,000 is a fair asking price. Trail dusters are becoming increasingly collectible, mainly because they were produced in much smaller numbers than their Dodge Ramcharger siblings or other period SUVs. They're essentially a Plymouth-badged Ramcharger, sharing the same robust platform and mechanical components. At $23,000, you definitely want to get a lot more information about this vehicle's history, condition, and mechanical status. These are cool pieces of Mopar history, but that's serious money for a '78 model without more details provided. 18. Let me tell you about this absolutely unique 1979 Chevy Custom that's up for $12,850. And folks, this is one of the most interesting builds I've seen in a while. What makes this truck special is its custom dually look setup using J.C. Whitney adapters from the '70s and GM fenders. A period-correct modification that gives you the aesthetic of a dually without the drawbacks. The seller makes a great point about getting the single-cab, dually look without the harsh ride, poor fuel economy, and high price tag of an actual dually. The mechanical side is solid. It's running a GM Goodwrench 350 with only about 10K miles on it, paired with a newer rebuilt TH350 transmission. They've done a complete suspension overhaul with drop spindles, cut coils up front, and an axle flip in the rear for that perfect stance. New brakes and steering components mean this thing should handle like a dream. The attention to detail is impressive. We're talking about a powder-coated frame, completely new seat with fresh foam and upholstery, new rubber mat, door cards, and dash. All the glass is good, and they've even replaced all the body seals and the dash cluster bezel. At $12,850, you're getting a unique custom build that's been thoroughly thought out and executed. The seller's right. Try finding another one like this. These kinds of period-correct custom builds are becoming increasingly rare and valuable to collectors. 19. We've got a sweet ride to check out, a 1973 Chevy El Camino that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This baby's got a price tag of just $6,400, and from what the seller's telling us, it seems like a pretty solid deal. Now let's dive into the deets. The seller's saying this El Camino is in good condition overall, with a clean title and 77,050 miles on the odometer. It's rocking a 350 engine with an automatic transmission, giving you that classic Chevy power and smooth shifting. The exterior's got a nice blue paint job that's sure to turn some heads. Inside, you've got power steering and power brakes, making this ride a breeze to handle. The only thing that might need a little TLC is the AC. But hey, that's just an opportunity to roll down the windows and feel the wind in your hair, right? The seller seems pretty straightforward, asking for $6,400 or best offer. They're not looking for any email scams or tire kickers, so if you're seriously interested, it's best to reach out with a text. All in all, this 1973 Chevy El Camino looks like a sweet ride for any enthusiast looking for a classic truck with some muscle. It's got a clean title, low mileage, and a solid engine, all for a pretty reasonable price. If you're in the market for a fun project or a weekend cruiser, this could be the perfect fit. As always though, it's important to do your own research and due diligence before making any big purchases. Take the time to check out the car in person, get a vehicle history report, and maybe even have a mechanic give it a once-over just to be safe. 20. We've got a real treat for you, a 1973 Chevrolet C10 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic pickup is priced at just $5,000, and from what the seller's telling us, it's got some serious potential. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the seller's being upfront and saying that this C10 is in fair condition, which means it's not perfect, but it's got a lot of life left in it. The odometer's showing 150,000 miles, but don't let that scare you off. These old Chevys are built to last. Under the hood, you've got a strong 8-cylinder engine that's ready to rumble. The seller's not mentioning any major issues with the motor, so that's a good sign. The transmission's an automatic, which makes this truck a breeze to drive. One of the coolest things about this C10 is that it's a camper special edition with 4-wheel drive. That means it's got locking hubs and a 3-inch lift, making it perfect for off-roading or hauling heavy loads. And with like-new tires, you won't have to worry about getting stuck in the mud. The body's straight, and the glass is good, which is a big plus for a truck this old. And since it's a California car, you don't have to worry about any pesky rust eating away at the frame. Now, The seller's being clear that this is a project truck. That means it's not going to be perfect, and it might need some work to get it up to snuff. But if you're handy with a wrench and you're looking for a fun project to sink your teeth into, this could be the perfect opportunity.